Seems like I'm live. So, I slept through most of the day today. I slept quite a lot. I don't know, I was feeling very exhausted. Maybe because I was very hyperactive during the past few days. I was very exhausted. And a very strange thing happened. Like, I got an email from Sonic Health Plus, and they verbatim did the same thing. Thank you for your email. If you like some whatever. What did they say? Thank you for your email. Please contact us on la la la. Should you have any queries regarding your booking, kind regards. It's the same thing. And I'm like, what? Why did I get another one? So I sent them a response, which is probably a bit, I told them to just not. I told them to just leave me be. I will contact them next week if I should choose to contact them. As I mentioned about my Centrelink complaints, I guess I just wanted them to know it was nothing personal. Like, I was also I don't know. The reason I mentioned Centrelink was because I was trying to let them know, hey, I'm not trying to start trouble with you. Or I also mentioned I'm not trying to take legal action against Sonic Health Plus, and I don't know. I just, so that sort of triggered me, that email, and the way it was like. It just triggered a lot of things about how there's lack of proper communication, there's lack of trust. Obviously, they won't trust me. That's why they're I don't know if they're afraid of me, but they're very cautious. I don't know. I just feel like it triggered a lot of stuff, this whole issues to do with manipulation and things that I have that trigger me. So I'm not saying Sonic Health Plus is being manipulative. I'm just saying it triggered a lot of issues for me. Okay, anyway, so I was I was writing into my journal. I just wrote this at 9:21 p.m. I want Centrelink to give me money in return for nothing. I need money to live. I don't want to work. How do I get money from Centrelink? Ex gratia. I actually put in gratia first, but then I googled in gratia, and it says ex gratia. And we will take a look at that. I want Centrelink. It means ex gratia means like a favor. Out of kindness, not expecting anything. I want Centrelink to pay me my current sum ex gratia. I do not want to work for it. I do not want to satisfy any obligation. I don't subscribe to this mutual obligation ideology, it is an ideology. How can I get Centrelink to pay me money ex gratia so I can live my life in relative peace? And I was thinking I should call Centrelink and ask them. I should ask them this exact question. I want Centrelink to give me money ex gratia. What do I need to do to get that happen? How do I get that to happen? Okay. So, yes. So, let's look at, anyway, where's my web browsing thing? Let's look at X gratia. Oh yeah, okay. With reference to payment done represents a moral obligation rather than because of any legal requirement. Is Latin for by favor and is most often used in a legal context when something has been done ex gratia, it has been done voluntarily out of kindness. Kindness, okay, grace. So let's go like this. Howard Government's mutual obligation. So this was introduced in 1997 by the Australian Federal Liberal government, which is like a conservative government. This guy is like, he's some guy who doesn't like the welfare state, but we'll leave his article alone. We'll leave out that side. So there are some nice articles. Retrenching or renovating the Australian welfare state, the paradox of the Howard government's neoliberalism. See, I don't like this neoliberalism. It's all about self-reliance, the individual. It's not, focuses on, yeah. And what about the structures, the system? And this is an interesting article. It's time to reject mutual obligation, but this is December 2002, very old. And this is like a very big paper, like ethical and social implications of mutual obligation. I haven't read any of these things. See, compulsion and paternalism. You know, they talk about this idea of mutual obligation and like, see, this is what governments are doing, right? In order to pass a policy, they create this idea. Okay, we're going to create an idea called mutual obligation. Look at the way she. You know what's you know what a very flawed thing in this mutual obligation is? Look at this, alright? It's in this statement. The concept of mutual obligation, a two-way street between the community and recipients of welfare benefits. Okay, that's that statement. The community and recipients of welfare benefits. You know what's, you see, it's herein lies the problem with mutual obligations. It pits the community against the recipients of welfare benefits. You know why that's a problem? Because the community includes recipients of welfare benefits. So this mutual obligation, it creates a division between those who are workers and those who are unemployed, and it creates this conflict, this apparent conflict between the two, whereas no, the community includes both people who work and people who don't work. Aren't the people who aren't unemployed people part of the community? Aren't they part of the community? So I don't accept this mutual obligation. And I've been also having like a cold, like what the hell? So here's the problem. It pits the community against welfare recipients, whereas I am saying welfare recipients are part of the community. And you know what I'm going to tell them? Yes, I will make that point, but also make another point is that if you know how they say mutual obligation, how do I want to put this? If you're going to subject welfare recipients to mutual obligation, I think that's kind of discriminatory. Why? I feel like it's discriminatory because it's like unfair. It's like, why are you imposing these punitive measures on welfare recipients? Why are you doing that? My idea is that, yeah, the reason you can do that is because you're pitting the welfare recipients against the community. And the way I would do is if you apply it to the whole community. So every single person who is of working age has to be enrolled in a system of mutual obligation. And if you have a job, you satisfy your mutual obligation. So just like right now, people who are on Centrelink New Start allowance, if they work, they just report to Centrelink their earnings. So similarly, under the system I'm proposing, which is applicable to the whole community, which includes unemployed people, everyone will have to do their fortnightly report and say, okay, we earn this much, and then that's what you do. So in that sense, you're not sort of targeting and dividing the community into those who are employed and those who are unemployed, and pitting and creating this artificial division between the two. So my proposal is to actually apply mutual obligation, which is all these punitive measures, these obligations onto the whole society. I think that's and I think what will happen is, this can also be a politically effective tactic, is because once the middle class, once the majority, once you apply the idea of mutual obligation to the majority, they will probably protest, and they will say, we don't like this. We don't like they might not even, it might not affect them practically, but just the idea of having the government imposing this kind of punitive, coercive system over their heads will make them feel like just how we feel as the unemployed. So then I imagine that the political backlash will lead to the government scrapping mutual obligation altogether. The reason the government is able to have this mutual obligation because it is applied to unemployed people, and unemployed people are a marginalized part of the community. They're usually one of the most probably have a lot of other issues, mental health issues. They're poor, they live in poverty, they can't afford lawyers, and a lot of them might not even realize that they have these rights. So they're not informed, they don't have the money to sue people. So this is what they're doing. Mutual obligation creates an artificial divide between the employed and the unemployed. The community should include both. It's not. Uh, this is a paper written by someone. I'm just quoting them. This was written in August 2000. All these people are so old. They should do some more research on this. Anyway, this is another one called franchising mutual obligation. Oh, really hate this concept. This is a community legal center in Australia, I think. Yeah, the problem with all these organizations is I don't think I want to challenge the government's imposition of mutual obligation on the basis that it infringes human rights treaties, specifically the Convention Against Forced Labor. It also infringes on the right to Social Security, because if you fail to comply with the government's mutual obligations, one of the penalties they can impose is to suspend your payment. I think they used to do that for 8 weeks, but now they brought it down to 4 weeks. And during that 4 week period, how are you going to support yourself, right? If you fail to comply with, I don't know, they will tell you go to your appointments and you don't attend your appointments or whatever, and they suspend your payment for 4 weeks. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for those 4 weeks? So that goes against the right to Social Security. And if you'll know, the treaties say that you have to progressively realize the right to Social Security, and this legislation of mutual obligation, it limits the right to Social Security in particular cases. So I also want to I also want to know if anyone has actually challenged whether whether the government's action is actually constitutionally valid, if there is any way to challenge the constitutionality of the government's legislation, or is there any kind of like other way, like maybe administrative law remedy. Maybe it's on. Let's look at administrative law remedies. Alright, let's see what remedies we have. Let's see what this is. Administrative law, choices of remedies. But they're talking about appeal. Procedural fairness. Yes, that is one of the remedies. This is not really telling me much. I think this is a High Court judgment. Judicial review of administrative action. Yes, but that is I want something else. So here is some of the remedies. Prerogative writs. Equitable remedies and declarations. Remedy. Alright, let's go to judicial remedies. Searcher. Okay. Okay. That's not gonna work for me. Okay, now this might be a way to go. Equitable remedies. No. Okay. I think equitable remedies. I don't know. Huh. Eh. Uh, this is all about money. Huh. I don't know. I don't know what other remedies. Okay. Abuse of power. Abuse of government power. Let's see. Huh. Let's see what this is. Let's see what that is. Politicians cynically misuse the power of the state for personal or political benefit are a far greater threat to democracy than criminals, even organized gangs. Right, Gary W. Crook. Populist propaganda. Yes, this is what they do with the whole mutual obligation. Appeals to ignorance, fear, and prejudice. What ordinary people want. Crises are manifest. This seems like a very good article. Oh man, what about the? How do we fight this? I'm interested in fighting this. Huh. Oh, this seems like he's this spirit. This seems more like a socialist thing. I can't believe this. Can't believe this. How long is this? I don't know. Anyway, I have to find a way to deal with this. Anyway, so yes, I want Centrelink to pay me money ex gratia. I think one way to challenge the government is reasonable, proportionate, reasonable, and proportionate government action. Reasonableness. Oh, here we go. Alright. The adoption of a proportionality test for the validity of administrative... That's it. This is a one way to test it. Is it proportionate? Treat this... the measure proposed must be suitable for the purpose. So, what mutual obligation. The measure must be necessary and the measure must not be disproportionate. I think you can argue that imposing all these burdens on unemployed people can be disproportionate. Okay. This might be something to, it's actually the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. There's this fly in my room. Where is this fly? Human rights. Let's go with this. Yeah, but this is, I think, for decisions. This is only to evaluate decisions, I think, and not the actual legislation itself. Whereas I want to challenge the actual legislation and not on how the legislation is applied to individual cases. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just like tired. Chill out. Ooh, I'll stop it now.